Hey, what's up, guys? It is Deibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. On tap for today, we are going to go through my top 10 most anticipated comic book films of this year and beyond. Suit Up Podcast can be found on iTunes and Spotify. Smash those 5 stars. Leave us a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe below. Before we get started, let's suit up. What a time to be a Marvel and DC Comics fan. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker became the first R-rated film to earn $1 billion and is now the most profitable comic book movie ever made. Make no mistake, if you're an actor in Hollywood, then the name of the game is to obtain a role in a comic book film. It was recently announced that Marvel Studios will be releasing 4 movies and 4 to 5 TV shows a year moving forward. On DC's end, The Flash and Superman, while they may be in limbo, Harley Quinn, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Batman are currently in full swing. Dwayne Johnson and WB have reached a recent agreement for Black Adam to hit theaters in 2021, while HBO Max has a Green Lantern Corps TV series in development. Here are my top 10 power rankings of comic book films now and beyond. Before we get started, since they have yet to be announced, I have not listed Joker 2, X-Men, or Fantastic Four on this list. The X-Men and Fantastic Four films are not expected to be released until at least the year 2023. I'm expecting a major announcement regarding their development sometime next year. This list will be updated on a month-to-month basis. So thanks for watching, guys. Let's start out with number 10.
What the hell are you? We are Venom.
My number 10 has to be Venom 2. Despite the divisive ratings, I really enjoyed Venom. Andy Serkis, who played Gollum in The Lord of the Rings, will direct Venom 2, which starts filming this week. Anyone else find it humorous that Andy Serkis played pretty much the same character as the title character in this film? Reports indicate that Andy Serkis and Tom Hardy have been working together with the script. Andy Serkis and Tom Hardy make a very interesting duo, to say the least. Venom 2 begins and ends, though, with Woody Harrelson's role as Carnage. Fingers crossed that Venom 2 is a device to build up maximum carnage. Naomi Harris is being eyed to play the role of Shriek, the villain who will play opposite of Tom Hardy. Naomi Harris was amazing in one of my all-time favorite films, 28 Days Later. Why should you be excited? This one is rather simple for 2 reasons. 1, we're finally going to see Carnage wreak havoc on the big screen. And 2, will Venom 2 find a way to tie in Peter Parker and Spider-Man? Will Tom Holland have a cameo in this sequel? Lastly, will Sony's films be canon in the MCU? A lot of questions revolve around this film, Venom 2. I cannot wait. Let's move on to my number 9. My number 9 most anticipated comic book film is Black Widow. Wait a minute. Phase 4 of the MCU is beginning with Black Widow, a film set following the events of Captain America Civil War? What the heck is Kevin Feige up to, man? Since we're talking about comic book movies, it's probably best that we leave the heavy thinking at the door. Back to being serious, Black Widow is finally getting her own movie. What is my response? What the heck took so long? It was reported a few weeks ago that Robert Downey Jr. will be returning as Iron Man in Black Widow. Following the events of Avengers Endgame, there won't be a dry eye in the theater when Tony and Natasha share the screen together. It's been almost a decade since Black Widow was introduced in Iron Man 2. So crazy. The trailer for Black Widow should be dropping within the next couple of weeks. Simply cannot wait. Why should you be excited? If done right, Taskmaster has serious potential as a villain. David Harbour from Stranger Things will have a major role as the Red Guardian, who is a Russian agent Captain America wannabe. Expect David Harbour to play a huge role in Natasha's upbringing and bring some of the heavy emotional weight to this film. Want another reason to be excited? Henry Jackman, who did the film score for Captain America Winter Soldier, has signed on to compose the score. The Winter Soldier score is hands down my favorite in the MCU. If the action scenes in Black Widow are anything like those in Captain America Winter Soldier, then we are in for one heck of a film. Let's move on to my number 8. My number 8 most anticipated film is Aquaman 2. I'm probably in the minority here, but Aquaman was one of the best comic book movies of all time. It felt like what was seen on the big screen was literally lifted straight out of the Aquaman comic books. Where will Aquaman 2 go now that Arthur is king of Atlantis? Director James Wan, Black Manta, Mera, Orm, they will all return for the upcoming sequel. If there is one thing that Aquaman did correctly, there is a huge world for Aquaman to explore in the upcoming sequel. An Aquaman spinoff is also taking place. Prior to Aquaman, it will be called Kingdom of the Trench. It is currently in development. Why should you be excited? There are a multitude of directions the sequel could go. Those endless possibilities, along with James Wan's return, is enough to have every DC fan psyched. Why not explore the Forgotten Kingdom in the Sahara? Aquaman 2 should play on its own strengths, which means continuing to develop the world Aquaman has built should be priority number 1. Don't expect to see Patrick Wilson as the villain in the next film. All signs point to Siren being the next main villain for the sequel. With the budding romance between Mera and Arthur likely taking place in the sequel, it only makes sense to see Mera's twin sister throw a wrench in that relationship and wreak havoc on the throne of Atlantis. Let's move on to my number 7.
I'd hate missing you guys get together. Testosterone.
Oh my goodness.
Excuse me.
Want a lozenge?
But Jane's better.
My number 7 film is Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor: Love and Thunder will have some awfully large shoes to fill after the incredible Thor Ragnarok. Natalie Portman will return to the Thor series as the Mighty Thor, and we should expect to see Thor's love life take center stage in the sequel. The two lovebirds broke off their relationship during Thor Ragnarok. If you know anything about the Mighty Thor's plot, then this film have very good odds to see some of the most gut-wrenching and emotional scenes of Phase 4 of the MCU. There are several questions that need to be answered in this one. What is Valkyrie up to now that she is King of Asgard? How will they reintroduce Natalie Portman's character? And why should you be excited? Thor: Love and Thunder will give us a new Thor to watch on the big screen. Natalie Portman's Jane Foster. But let's be honest here. Taika Waititi recently confirmed that Korg and Thor will have significant screen time together in the sequel. Korg is hands down one of my favorite side characters in the entire MCU, and that has me thrilled. Another huge reason to be excited is the soundtrack. I absolutely love the Thor Ragnarok soundtrack. I especially adored the additions of Led Zeppelin. Judging by the title, fingers crossed we get some hair metal classics. I'm personally hoping for Rainbow in the Dark by Dio. Let's move on to my number 6.
Oh, Ned, perfect. The costume looks great.
My number 6 is Untitled Spider-Man 3. We can officially breathe, Night Monkey fans. Spider-Man is staying with Kevin Feige, and all is right in the world. Am I right? We will officially see Spider-Man in at least one more solo film, as well as another MCU film. Not only that, but the director and writers from Spider-Man Far From Home will be returning. So many Peter Tingles. Kevin Feige said that the sequel will be a Spider-Man story never before seen on the big screen. All signs point to Kraven being the villain in this sequel. Well, guess what? Kraven, the hunter, has yet to see the big screen. Let the hunt begin. Kraven would be an excellent villain and deserves his opportunity on the big screen. There have been rumors swirling about twisting Kraven's roots from Russia to Wakanda. Shuri and Peter working together on some new spider tech sounds just about as perfect as can be. Why should you be excited? I have 3 reasons. First, it is very likely that we see Peter Parker wrapping up high school by the end of this film. Can we also please get an awkward MJ and Peter moment during prom, please? The second reason is that we may finally see the beginnings of the Sinister Six on the big screen. We know that Vulture and Scorpion have already been established. It feels like Sony's Sinister Six film has been in development for decades. The last and most fun reason will be finding out how Sony and Disney figure out how to share these universes among their superheroes and villains. Will Spider-Man simply jump universe to universe on a film-by-film basis? Will there be any shared consequences within these films? This is definitely something to watch for. Let's move on to my number 5.
Did he freeze?
Like an antelope in headlights. Are you finished?
My number 5 film is Black Panther 2. Ryan Coogler will return to direct Black Panther 2. It will be moving from a February to May release, which makes one believe that the sequel will be even bigger than the first. Right up there with Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor, Black Panther was an incredible film in world building and culture. After Thanos' snap, there are some major questions that linger within the MCU. Who ruled Wakanda for those 5 years post-snap? I'm really hoping to see Shuri have a larger role and more screen time in the sequel. I'm also hoping Black Panther 2 ups the ante with more brutal and intense fighting scenes for our main character. Why should you be excited? Kraven, Storm, and Namor are really good bets to be the villain in Black Panther 2. If that isn't enough, Chadwick Boseman stated in a recent interview about his desire for Denzel Washington to join the MCU. Do you envision Denzel as a villain or a hero in Black Panther 2? There are already rumors going around that Denzel Washington is being targeted for Magneto, but what is the deal with Namor? We know mutants are going to be integrated into the MCU in the very near future. Namor could fit in perfectly here as an anti-hero and thus utilized in future Avengers films. Black Panther and Namor have a history together in the comics. Could we see the King of Wakanda take on the King of Atlantis in 2022? Let's move on to my number 4.
What's this, my mantra? It's the Wi-Fi password. We're not savages.
My number 4 is Doctor Strange and the Multitude of Madness. First things first, make sure you check out WandaVision when it releases on Disney Plus in 2021. It will reportedly have direct ties with the Doctor Strange sequel. Sorry, Batman. I have no shame in admitting that this film is my personal favorite on this list. This film is going to be massive on the big screen and be one of Disney Plus's first huge tie-ins to the MCU. Filming for Doctor Strange 2 is set to begin in a couple of months. Why should you be excited? This personally seems like a dream come true, as the possibilities here are endless. The MCU and the horror genre, my personally favorite genre of film, will be joining hands for the Doctor Strange sequel. Expect vampires, the undead, and possibly Nightmare to be one of the main villains for the sequel. Keanu Reeves or David Tennant would be the perfect choices to play Nightmare. With Blade being announced, keep an eye out for a post-credit scene revealing either 1, Blade, or 2, Dracula, or perhaps the film just goes off script and delivers us Namor. Namor and Doctor Strange were close friends in the comics, and this could be a very easy way the MCU introduces us to mutants for the first time. You should also expect to see Mordo and Dormammu making an alliance at the end of the sequel. Let's move on to my number 3.
You won't. That's all it is, Miles. A leap of faith.
Like, what's up, danger?
My number 3 most anticipated comic book film is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sequel. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was hands down my favorite animated film when it was released. Heck, it was probably the best overall film of 2018. If you love the film as much as I did, then I have good news. An all-female spin-off film featuring Gwen Stacy is in development. Speaking of Gwen Stacy, it is reported that the sequel will be a continuation of the original story, as well as the building romance between Miles and Gwen. We saw numerous Spider-Mans in the first film. What can we expect in the sequel? Takuya Yamashiro from the live-action Japanese Spider-Man TV series has already been confirmed. Why should you be excited? Quite simply, because Sony finally got it right. Box office failure after box office failure, Sony finally got pointed in the right direction with Into the Spider-Verse, which won an Academy Award. Also, Miles Morales' character was such a breath of fresh air. Expectations are through the roof for Into the Spider-Verse 2. Let's move on to my number 2. Before we get started with number 2, I need to throw a little love to my guy Pedro Pascal, who will be playing Max Lord in Wonder Woman 1984. Pascal has been incredible so far with his role in The Mandalorian. Amazing actor, even better casting. My number 2, of course, is Wonder Woman 1984. Poor test screenings won't derail my number 2 most anticipated comic book movie, Wonder Woman 1984. Don't forget that Batman vs. Superman had significant positive buzz after screening reports. They don't mean a damn thing. I have significant trust in Patty Jenkins that the leaked plot is not accurate and just full of baloney. Other than a few photos, we really don't know anything about what goes down in Wonder Woman 1984. The first trailer for Wonder Woman 1984 will drop on December 8th at Comic-Con Experience in Brazil. Why should you be excited? We're finally going to see Cheetah on the big screen. Kristen Wiig as Dr. Barber and Minerva has serious potential. Chris Pine as Steve Trevor will make his return as the romantic interest, and Patty Jenkins is the best director in the DCEU, period. Let's move on to my number 1. My number 1 is the Batman. Of course, it's got to be Batman. Batman has to be on the top spot in my inaugural power rankings. Matt Reeves, the director of Let Me In, Cloverfield, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, will helm and script the Batman, which comes out in 2021. The plot will involve a younger Batman taking on an established Penguin, and all signs point to a plot revolving around the long Halloween. Why should you be excited? They don't call Batman the world's greatest detective for nothing. Matt Reeves is finally going to give DC Comics fans a glimpse of Batman doing detective work, which instantly grants this film my number 1 spot in my power rankings. The Penguin, Riddler, Harvey Dent, and Catwoman are all expected to take on Batman at some point in this film. What does it all mean? A mystery film featuring a decent chunk of Batman's greatest gallery of rogue villains just simply gives me the chills. While we shouldn't expect a Justice League film anytime soon, it will also be very interesting to see how Warner Brothers plans to tie in the Batman within the rest of the DCEU. Right now, everything points to the Batman being a standalone film. We currently do not know when the Batman will take place. As much as I'd love to see this film take place during the 1990s and potentially include a face-off between Pattinson and Joaquin Phoenix, don't get your hopes up. So that's my top 10 most anticipated comic book films of this year and beyond. Do you agree or disagree? Did I leave anything out? Leave a comment below if you're watching us on YouTube. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.